Welcome to the Inglorious Blasters podcast, a Star Wars Legion podcast talking anything and everything glorious or inglorious about the game. My name is Corey, and with me today is John and Brendan. How's it going, my rust buckets?
It's going good.
Rust buckets?
I could tell by Brendan's silence he loves this one.
Yeah, no, not so much. I haven't had to replace any joints yet. I'm not a rust bucket.
Okay, gotcha. Do you prefer this or Moof Milker?
Moof Milker feels a little bit more insulty.
Okay, all right. I'll keep that in my back pocket.
I have asked a number of people if they have heard of Moof Milker throughout the last couple weeks since that was brought up during our last, and I was like, have you ever heard this term? Not a single person's heard of it.
Well, I guarantee you it's in Star Wars, so I think we're just in the wrong time era. So, we just need to fast forward or go backwards, whichever one. Long time ago. There you go.
Far away,
Far away. That whole deal. We've watched Star Wars, clearly. Alrighty, so today on the podcast, we're going to go over some Shadow Collective meta and what we think of it. Maybe some counters, stuff like that. And then we're going to have our Glorious versus Inglorious segment, where we're going to talk about the overweight glob of grease known as R2-D2. John is going to try and convince me that he's glorious, and then Brendan's going to try and convince me that he is inglorious. Stick around. Should be a good one. So, boys, what do we think about Shadow Collective and their introduction into the game? We've had at least 2 tournaments where they've shown up, Lone Star and Gen Con, and they're everywhere. We're seeing a lot of pikes, like pike gunline stuff. We're seeing a lot of Black Suns with or without a bus, and then Maul is definitely shown up. So yeah, what have been your experiences so far? Let's start with Brendan. How about that?
I haven't played against anything Shadow Collective yet, but just looking at all the lists and everything, definitely they are popular, which I can completely understand why. A, they look cool, and B, free tokens are nice. I don't know what that's like.
Free tokens are extremely nice.
Yeah, I don't know what that's like aside from dodges and reliable 2 on Vader, but it's amazing to see a new faction come right out the gate and be doing well against the existing factions with comparatively so little. So I love seeing that. Whether or not the reason they're doing well is because they're actually a good faction, or it's just a lot of good players have decided to play them, so they already really understand the game, and they're just using that to their advantage, I'm not sure. I think part of the reason that they might be doing pretty well is you don't have order control, so you just kind of wing it. And if you don't care about order control, you just go with it. It's like the complete opposite of CIS.
It feels like it's a more of a benefit because most of the time, currently with the stuff that's out for specifically Shadow Collective, that you don't really care about order control because you're probably going to put an order on Maul or Gar if you're running him.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe a bounty hunter, right? Like, those are your most important pieces. You don't really care when the pikes or the Black Suns go. So that's just a big benefit most of the time.
And a lot of these lists might just be core and commanders. I mean, so your bag's almost a 50-50 shot if you actually give out no orders. And if you're bringing buses, maybe you're putting orders on the buses and the rest you just don't care about.
Right, exactly. I feel like it's order control without having order control, on the board physically. It feels like cheating. That's what it feels like.
It feels like how I want improvised orders to feel, but better.
Right, and without having to pay 5 points for it and get a bunch of dodges.
Yeah. So, I
Nice.
mean, there seem to be a lot of different ways to play them, whether you're doing a lot of pikes, you're doing a lot of Black Sun, bit of both, the bounty hunters, Maul, no Maul, Gar, no Gar, buses, no buses. The only thing I'm not seeing is a lot of Mandalorians. And Mandalorians are really cool. We all know it. But they're a lot of points in a faction that, you don't have order control. So if you start bringing too many Mandalorians, you're going to either give them orders or not, and hope they don't get shot and die, because red defense dice are sometimes a little fickle, and that's a lot of points for not a lot of unit.
They're expensive wounds, right? Even taking one wound is kind of punishing on them. So I agree. We haven't been seeing a lot of those.
I'm hoping somebody figures it out, but I don't know. Just like we don't see a lot of Mandalorian resistance with Rebels.
True.
Yeah, I think that's the challenge when you have any really expensive single wound model. It's extra punishing when you fail a roll, because when you only have, usually the unit is 4, as soon as you lose 1 or 2 models, you've pretty much lost the punch that you really need from those larger dice pools of having the full unit. So it just feels really bad when you lose 1 or 2 models. And when they cost 100 plus points, it's not as okay as when you lose a cheaper when you have a cheaper unit and you lose a couple models and you're like, all right, it's fine, like I can move them back, they'll just pad my activations. When you spend 100 plus points, you want that unit to do something and affect the game in some way. So it feels really bad to then have to retreat them to save that activation and not give your opponent those kill points when you spent that many points on the unit.
Right, I agree.
Yeah.
But as far as Shadow Collective goes, I think you guys kind of hit on it. Like, the entire army almost feels timing neutral. Like, when you're running Maul, you always have an order on Maul, and then everything else is fairly timing neutral. I mean, you kind of want the Capos to go first so that they can aid and get aims to your pikes or dodge them up, like the ones that are in your front line. But if you don't, it's not terrible, because, turn 1, you're setting up the dodges, and then they hold on to the dodges from vigilance, and then they get more dodges, and so whether they have 2 or 3, either way, you're going to have to chew through usually 4 to 5 wounds between heavy cover and then the multiple dodges before you even have them rolling dice. And then once you hit them a second time, now their danger sense is charged up. So it's the biggest thing is having a large dice pool, and not every faction has access to. I mean, for me, clones seem to do a little bit better because you can set up fire supports and roll, 18 or 20 dice combining Z6s or other things that you're setting up. But for other factions where fire support isn't like part of their faction identity, where you're rolling smaller dice pools, you go to make that throw, and it's like, well, I have 6 or 7 dice, and even if 6 of them hit, for say, if 4 or 5 of them are going to immediately go away between heavy cover and dodges, and they're rolling 1 or 2 saves plus danger sense, you almost feel like they're invincible in some regard.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it feels bad to shoot them. I think if you're going to shoot at them, you have to shoot at the same one repeatedly until it dies. If you don't have any source of high velocity, that's probably the way to go if you want to kill them. It still doesn't feel great to shoot at them in my limited experience. So John and I recently played a game where he played his Republic, and he had like a 10-act Yoda list with some pikes, and I was playing some AAT Bosk, and I also added some pikes because I was trying to figure out if I could add them in, but they didn't really do much. The AAT got a great shot off on the pikes. They were all dodged up. It was a full squad. I got like 7 hits through heavy, which got knocked down to 5. I think you made like 1 save or no save. I don't remember, but it just left like the unit leader. So I was like, yeah, high velocity tank is like probably the way to go. In the long run, I would love to try using AAT or 2 against the pike spam list. I don't know how it's going to do because like they still have Maul on the other end. And then let's pretend they, if they make the save like a wild swingy save, then my AAT effectively did nothing that round. So that feels kind of bad. So I'm trying people have been saying AATs are good against pikes. generally, yes. But if it's a whole pike spam, I don't know yet. I need to get some reps in against like a pike spam list.
Yeah, well, I mean, if it is a pike spam list, I mean, at best, they're a total of impact 6 at range 4 because of each squad.
Yeah, that was my other thought too. Yeah,
but
it's gonna be punishing on the return fire too.
Yeah, so. And you hope they don't also roll some crits there. You hope your red dice are good for the defense for the tank. I mean, luckily you can find the room to bring a lot of repair bots.
Right.
If you bring 2 tanks, that becomes a little harder, as well as having a answer in case Maul gets up in your grill.
Yeah, exactly. So that's where I'm like struggling if I want to specifically counter pike spam with droids, like separatists, because they mainly just have the AAT. And if you want to bring your own Maul or Dooku, like I think those are the best options right now. But other than that, I don't know. They're difficult. I got to think about it.
Pretty much have to commit to focusing on a unit or two. Because if you try to start spreading your fire, it's almost like all those shots are useless. So it's almost like you have to think of it as the first shot, it's not going to potentially kill any models, but at least it'll strip the dodges. So that the next shot, you're just dealing with the cover and not the combo of the cover and the dodges.
Having not played against pikes yet, just, as the Empire guy, most of my lists have a good bit of critical in them, and critical is useless against the pikes.
Yes, it's very annoying. Like my Magnas, which were great at range 4, because they have critical 1. It's like, hell yeah, I'm gonna shoot launcher and get a crit through. I'm gonna get a crit through, and it's gone. Okay, great.
At this point, the only answers are high velocity. The best high velocity is definitely the AAT because it has the biggest die pool. Next best answer, but it's a lot more points, is a lot of high velocity in Empire with sniper rifles.
Right, exactly. Which is why that's ultimately what I'm getting at. I think you need multiple sources of high velocity, not just one big gun. That's my initial thought, but obviously I need to play some more. Play against like a proper pike spam.
Yeah, now I'm wondering with the AAT method though, if you bring 2, don't put high velocity rounds on them and just barrage every turn and get 2 shots out with the main cannon.
If you can get, so I have to look it up again, but I'm pretty sure the generic math says you should do barrage if you can get them out in the open, because the second shot will get them light cover. But if they have light cover already or heavy, I'm pretty sure you're supposed to use the the arsenal shot, the main cannon, and then high energy shells.
Yeah.
So it's tricky. Like, I think you're not wrong, but I just don't want to go through cover twice.
Yeah, right.
But maybe that's the thing. And then if you shoot them twice, you're also charging their danger sense. So,
now, does barrage have to be against the same unit?
It does not. No.
Okay. So you could also just treat it as like a high velocity gunslinger and start handing out suppression to the pikes.
Ooh, maybe you can hand out suppression via Lock Dirt. Remember that guy?
I know he's a card.
No, it even charges it up quicker. Oh man.
Oh yeah, he does give suppressive.
That's the danger sense thing catches you off guard. Even a game I played at Showcase earlier this week, I had gotten the pikes down to a single model in the one unit, and I'm like, oh nice, all right. I can pop this bark up, throw 4 die, hit with maybe 2 or 3. He's gonna roll 1 save because they were in the open, and then I just completely forgot because I had not shot the unit in a couple rounds that you can just hold on to your suppression tokens with danger sense. So I took the shot. I'm like, nice, all right, above average, 3 out of 4 hits. This thing's dead. 1 went away because they were in light cover from the suppression tokens that I didn't even check to see if they were there. I just assumed they were gone. And then rolled 4 saves because of danger sense too, and just negated the attack completely. And I was like, what the heck? Like, I flew this bark right out into the open thinking, this is a good trade, then I'll be up on points. Because when you fly into, 6 full units of pikes, and they're going to throw like 40 dice back at you. You need to trade up, right? So I'm like,
Right.
all right, single wound model. Like, you could smell, the kill. And I come flying over this building, and it completely shrugs it off. And then all of its buddies, just massacre the single...
Just ruined your dreams.
Yeah, the single bark that was, doing a kamikaze ended up not accomplishing anything, basically. But that goes back to the, when you have a 4-die pool, and you have a unit that is going to be in heavier light cover, plus danger sense, plus potentially dodges, you might as well almost not even take the shot. Unless the idea is, I'm going to strip the dodges with this shot, and then immediately follow up with another shot. So there's a lot more planning involved in that situation.
Right. Agreed.
Yeah, so based on this whole conversation, I mean, the answers are high velocity, or my personal favorite way of playing, melee. Just get in there. Sure, they still have dodges, but cover's gone.
If they have any suppression, danger sense is there.
Yeah, which
but still,
is unfortunately a side effect of dewbacks. But
yeah,
dewbacks, if you've got tenacity on them, are throwing 7 dice in melee, which is pretty nice.
Yeah, it seems good to me.
Yep, agreed.
All right, so you're telling me, Brendan, it's Vader Lat, double dewback, get in there.
Or Vader triple dewback, or a list I do want to try at some point that I haven't tried yet. I came up with a double lat, double IRG, triple dewback list that looks really fun, and it's still 10 acts. So
that's insane. I need to lend you my other lat so you can actually do this.
Yes, that or I'll just play on TTS. But
yeah, either way. Alrighty, so I think that's a good what do you call it? A good intro to the Shadow Collective meta, what you're gonna see. Some of our quick thoughts there. So how about we move on over to the R2-D2 Glorious versus Inglorious segment. For those of you that don't know, this segment is all about two people having opposing sides of a unit. So this week we're talking about R2-D2. Is he glorious or inglorious? Basically, is he good or is he bad? John's got glorious. Brendan's got inglorious, and then I am the definitely impartial judge.
definitely impartial.
Down with this rust bucket.
Would you like to hit his unit card?
Brendan, you are our resident unit card expert.
The only one that can read.
Apparently.
Which helps if you want to play this game. You should be able to read.
Yeah, reading comprehension is probably good for this game.
There's a lot of judge calls involved if you can't read. And you have to...
Yeah. So, R2-D2. So, one thing to note about R2 before we get into his unit card, he can be in 2 different factions. He can be in either the Rebellion or the Republic. He is an operative. He is 55 points. He has 4 health and 2 courage, and is a droid trooper. White defense dice. He surges to attack and surges to defense. He's speed 1. He has a electroshock attack, which is melee to range 1 with 3 white dice. That is suppressive. He's got an action to repair 2, capacity 2. He has secret mission, which is a free action. Once per game, if you are within an enemy deployment zone, place 1 victory token on you. At the end of the game, if you have a victory token, gain that token. So he has to be alive to score that, just to clarify. Grounded. You cannot climb or clamber. And inconspicuous. When an enemy unit performs an attack, if you have at least 1 suppression token, it must attack another unit if able. During your rally step, you may choose not to remove your suppression tokens. He also has a comms upgrade slot, and he can take a counterpart. The counterpart is C-3PO. C-3PO adds 2 wounds to the unit, and he has the action Calculate Odds. Choose a friendly trooper unit at range 1 and in line of sight. It gains 1 aim, 1 dodge, and 1 suppression token. It's got a free action Distract. Choose an enemy trooper unit at range 1 to 2 and in line of sight. Until the end of the round, you lose inconspicuous, and when that unit performs an attack, it must attack you if able. And he can only be added to R2-D2 for 15 points. He also has an attack, 1 white die, that's only good in melee, his Clumsy Kick.
Alrighty. I want to hear from Glorious first. John, how about you go first?
Thank you, Corey. I will start by saying...
This is going to go great. I can't wait.
Now I lost my train of thought. I'm not sure. I was setting up a joke, and now I don't even know what it was. So I'll just transition. Yeah, I'll just transition right into my points. So R2-D2. He is cheap, relatively speaking, 55 points. So he's not that much more expensive than your naked squads, but what you get out of him is something that influences the entire game with Secret Mission. He's a single model, typically, unless you're running him with C-3PO, which means he's very easy to hide, which is relative for Secret Mission. He has repair, a double repair, which is nice if you're doing like a double T-47 list, which is probably the most competitive vehicle list in Rebels where you would utilize him. His command cards are fairly decent. I particularly like Smokescreen with the Free Speed 1 move. You can set up a lot of interesting interactions that your opponents don't necessarily see coming because it takes effect immediately. So they might be setting up, getting ready to play their command cards, measuring some things out, thinking you're beyond range 3, and then boom, you have 1 or 2 units that are all of a sudden in range 3, which I think we're primarily talking about the Rebel R2. But just a quick point for GAR, people are so used to now kind of counterplaying fire supports. So similar to like Padme's aggressive negotiations, they'll be measuring it and they're like, oh, okay, like he's beyond range 3. He's obviously not setting up a fire support. And then you play that card, or in this case, you play Smokescreen, and boom, your clone trooper unit that was just out of range 3 is all of a sudden in range 3 and has a face up, and you're going to get a fire support, that you didn't necessarily see coming. So that's really handy with Smokescreen to be able to move around, because it can be anything, and you can throw a comms relay on R2 because it's R2 and 1 trooper, and potentially get 2 troopers doing that. So you can get your Jedi. All kinds of things. If you think about like the threat range of a Jedi being, the double speed 2, so just shy of range 2, and somebody's measuring that thinking they're not going to get charged, and then boom, they're automatically in threat range. So there's a lot of like cool, sneaky things that card allows you to do. But the biggest thing is obviously Secret Mission. And if you're building a blue player deck where you can kind of influence some of the objectives, because Secret Mission has higher value the less victory points that are up for grabs, or in objective games like Vaporators where it's usually a tie 4-4, and he's the factor that pushes you over regardless of kill points. So for a 55-point unit to have that amount of influence on the game, whether you scored or not, but just the fact that the threat is there, oftentimes that is enough to influence a lot of your opponent's decisions. Because if you end up on long edge deployments and you deploy R2 last, and you guys are both like basically piling up your forces opposing one another, and then all of a sudden R2 is on the other side of the board, it's like almost in certain games a turn 0 win in some regards. Not that the game is impossible to come back from, but you've really got an uphill battle if your opponent is just able to double move R2 the whole game and touchdown for that victory point. So I think for 55 points to influence the game at that level with Secret Mission, and not saying you're going to score Secret Mission all the time, but just the threat value of it being there, is well worth his points cost. And at the end of the day, even if you don't do any of that and he ends up being activation padding and a single single model unit that can pretty much easily hide itself, it's not that much more than like a naked rebel trooper squad. So there's a lot of value there, I think, for an extra 15 points or 3 points if you're talking about GAR phase 1s.
All right, awesome. Thanks, John. Brendan, do you have any pushback, or do you just want to get right into your points?
I just want to get right into my points.
All right, I like it. Okay, Inglorious. Brendan, take it away.
So, first of all, R2-D2 is both an accessory to war crimes as well as an accessory to terrorism. All right?
Go on.
He took Anakin to kill off the leadership of the Confederacy. And he also helped Luke destroy the Death Star. War crimes and terrorism, all right? Is this really the kind of person we want to be backing? So, but in the game...
Sorry, I just didn't see that coming as the first point.
I usually have the completely irrelevant points. I am offended that you took my shtick.
It's not looking good for you, John.
But in the game, R2 is nothing but a two-trick pony. And John already made my point for me. He's either just secret mission or just repairing. That's all he does. He doesn't do anything else. And I don't even know why I bothered mentioning C-3PO. Nobody brings him.
Yeah, which is a shame, really quick. Giving out an aim and a dodge is not bad.
It's the
but like, I don't know if he's worth the extra points. Yeah.
I think it's the 70 point cost. Like when R2 was 45 and he was 15, I would take him in Garless, because then also that was also when you could token share. So
R2 used 52 to be 35 points. That tells you how broken of a unit he is as a two-trick pony. They had to up him by 20 points from 35 to 55. And you know who didn't get a points update? C-3PO, because nobody ever plays him. They didn't feel the need to even touch him.
Yeah, real shame. Anyways, continue, Brendan.
I mean, that's it. R2-D2.
That's it? Ooh, okay.
Yeah,
there you go.
He's either secret mission or repairing vehicles. You never see him do both, because it's not possible. You know.
Okay.
That's fair.
It's what he does.
It is interesting, because when I started looking at points, like, you're not using him to attack anything. You know, he's not really, like, interacting with other units on your opponent's side, necessarily. And if he is, you're probably, getting overrun and probably going to lose the game anyway. But, I mean, I just struggle to find anything that provides that much value for that low of points, that has that level of influence on the objective-based nature of Legion.
I will admit, if you are using him as a secret mission, as the opponent, you have to deal with him, unless your whole goal is just to murder everything. And I mean, I've only faced R2 a handful of times, and in all but one of those games, I murdered him with a vengeance. And the only other game, he didn't score a secret mission. So, I mean, aside from the one game where I didn't kill him, every time I faced R2, he's been one shot. I mean, he's only got 4 health for 55 points, which, yes, as John stated, he's a little bit more expensive than the cheaper core options for those factions. But, for a unit that is inching across the battlefield, trying to go somewhere and score, he's not doing anything else.
He's like a metal snail. Right. Just
so
slowly inching
and
along.
that repair isn't doing you any good if you're getting one shot.
Right, absolutely. So I know I'm the judge, but I kind of want to hop in for a hot second. It just occurred to me now that R2-D2 is literally a 55-point Guardian unit. Meaning he's going to take shots for you because he's going to impact the game that much.
He's not going to take shots. He might take a shot because once he's got that suppression, you can't shoot him anymore.
Right.
And you
right. He's
don't
going to
have
take
to
one
take
shot
it off.
But you know what I'm getting at, though.
I
right?
know what you're saying.
It's like miserable sometimes.
It can be, except for when you feel real accomplishment by moving a squad of stormtroopers into base contact with a land speeder and one-shot R2 punching it.
But at the end of the day, say you lose R2, it's not typically like a situation where it's like, oh, you just took out my squad of like Mandalorians or a full ARC squad. You're just kind of like, all right, like he's, he could potentially did not die in vain. Like if focus was being put on him so that he didn't, skew the game in such a way that you won due to secret mission, he still got his value for not that much more, and he's got the same amount of wounds and save as like naked rebel troopers.
Yeah, I'll agree with that. With the asterisks of if you kill R2 before he can heal any vehicles and you have a vehicle list, then that's real feels bad.
I feel like you should hide behind your vehicle.
Right.
Or at least hide behind some other stuff. So like if you get R2 killed in that way, that's kind of your fault.
Yeah, if you're not placing R2 as far back from behind the vehicle as possible, unless it's like air speeders, because they're going wherever.
That one's a little harder to heal.
Yeah.
But like if we're talking saber tank, if he's not directly behind it or hiding behind a building near it in line of sight or whatever, you're playing R2 wrong.
All right, I
I'm
agree.
Gonna add one
so I'm
more.
going to bring up another point,
I'm
going to have John talk about this one
Can I
and
add
his
one more
thoughts on
point
it.
before that?
Oh yes, absolutely, go for it.
All right. Also, the fact that R2-D2 is behind a paywall, you can only get him in either the crashed escape pod or the upcoming Echo Base Battle Force. So you're either spending, you can't just get him in C-3PO.
You know what? I'm writing that down as a pro for you because I agree.
That has no relevance.
I hated buying that box. That was a miserable experience.
Nobody's buying it for the escape pod scenario.
Oh, for sure. Everyone's going to play that scenario.
It's interesting, the couple games where R2, whenever I've played him, he has not scored secret mission very often. But I've always felt that he influenced the game in such a way that I got my points out of him. And the couple times he has scored secret mission, it's been like in a huge situation that pushed me over the top. Like a round 3 game where like one comes to mind where it was breakthrough. And we each had 5 units get to our opponent's deployments. And one of mine was R2. He scored secret mission, and then the game ended 6-5. So in that same scenario, I was probably going to lose because I was down on victory points, but we each had 5 scoring units, and it became 6-5 even though I had more units destroyed overall from a victory point standpoint. So there's been situations like that where he's made like a game-changing touchdown pass, if you will, of scoring that secret mission for me at not a huge points cost. Like, it's not like he cost 100 points to do that. And if he ends up just being a cheap activation, it's also not like a huge deal at the end of the day.
I will say, yes, he has the potential to shift, the play of the game because of that, ability to score a point. But I will say, going back to our Shadow Collective talk, we're now seeing a new rise in bounty hunters. So now if you're up against
you
bounty
stole my
hunters...
thunder. You stole my thunder. I was going to be
Corey.
like, all right, Brendan, talk about it first.
So
and
bounty
then John,
hunters,
think about a counterpoint.
if you're up against R2-D2 and you have bounty hunters, you're putting a bounty token on R2. And 100%. Then your bounty hunter's going after it, and then your bounty hunter's just ignoring everything else and running away with a bounty. And now your point goes to your opponent.
100%. John.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. And I do think that his stock has gone down a little bit with the amount of bounty hunters we have now and that are also forthcoming. And I think in those situations, like if somebody has a bounty hunter, then I would just say, well, he's a little bit more expensive than my Naked Phase 1 or my Naked Rebel Troopers, and he's just going to chill back here. I mean, you can still tap VAPs with him. You could still hold your home KP with him. Like, so there's things that you could do with him to still influence the game, just like you'd use a naked squad for. I think that's like, so like relatively speaking, for lower points activations, if you compare them to like a phase 1 in clones, 52 versus 55, or Rebel Troopers 40 versus 55. If you put a naked phase 1 squad down, or you put a naked Rebel Trooper squad down, your opponent doesn't look over across the table and go, I need a plan to deal with that. Like, how am I going to get that naked squad? But if you put R2 down for 3 points more or 15 points more to make your opponent think like I have to deal with the trash can or it could bite me in the butt, that is worth 3 or 15 points, in my opinion, to influence the game at that level. And like I said, even if he doesn't score secret mission, even if he doesn't go for it because your opponent has bounty hunters, he can still just chill in the background and force a situation where it's like, okay, like if you want to get him, you're going to have to come into the heart of my army, and I'm just going to kill your bounty hunter. Problem solved. So I do think in those situations you have to play smart. Like, you can't just like put him down in the center of the battlefield and go, well, I hope he makes it to the other side.
Godspeed, sir.
Yeah. There has to be thought involved.
All right. Okay, I've heard enough. I'm ready for my decision. So, this is still not an easy one for me. I will give a quick thought and a story. At top 8 at ACO, my opponent had a R2-D2 that was slowly creeping up on Long March, and I'm pretty sure was going to make it. So I had to unfortunately use one of my power pieces, like a spider, in order to shoot it, and that felt really bad. I one-shot him, but it still felt really bad. I had to shoot that versus something else. And that is just super annoying. I think without Shadow Collective, I think he was glorious. I think with Shadow Collective and with a bunch of bounty hunters appearing now, I feel like his stock has gone way down, just like John described. It's tough, but I have to say he's inglorious because I feel like he's going to do nothing. And even if you shoot him and one-shot him, like, it's fine. You denied your opponent a point. It doesn't feel good, but we can't let him keep getting away with his war crimes. This has to stop. Inglorious. Go to jail. Do not collect $200.
I will say, I obviously agree with Corey. I will say there's one scenario where R2 remains glorious, and it's just one scenario. If your sole purpose in bringing him is to heal in the Republic, because he's got that 4 heals, right? Being able to bring back 4 health. The only other way you're doing that in Republic is spending 72 points on clone engineers. So he is a discount for heals in the Republic faction.
He's an auto take if you're running a saber, in my opinion. Like,
yes, that's the one area where I will say he's glorious.
Right, I agree. I think any armor, including like ISB, is that the name? Yeah, ISB. Yes. I still think you take R2 because like that would be a great heal. That would be good value.
Yeah, that's the only.
I agree in that one tiny scenario that slightly matters. Other than that, he's not doing much.
No,
feels bad.
This is rigged.
It's all right, John. You'll get him next time.
All of the irrelevant points and/or models that have not released yet have influenced this argument.
There are 3 bounty hunters already out, and they're all quite good.
They keep showing up.
That they do.
Yeah, it's tough, but like
it's hard to back a villain. I mean, what else can we say?
I agree. So I would like to say, if you don't like our judgment, want to give us some general smack talk, you can send us an email at swingloriousblasters@gmail.com. Tell us how we're wrong, and then maybe we'll give you a shout out on the podcast.
We'll have to have Brendan read it, because if you recall, Corey and I cannot read.
That's true.
So if you're trash talking us, I won't even know, because
You don't have the capacity to read.
What are all these markings?
That's right.
Yeah, also, feel free to join our Discord, where you can talk to all of us, and maybe Corey and John can read your messages. But you can find links to our Discord on our Facebook page as well as on our Podbean page.
Yeah, just come hang out, chat with us, talk some Legion, show off some hobby work, some smack talk, maybe teach me how to read.
If you are a tutor, your stack will go up in our book.
If you're unaware, we're on most popular podcasting apps now, so including Spotify, Apple, Google, and YouTube. So if you've only been listening to us on Podbean and you would prefer something else, go ahead and switch over. Maybe leave us a rating and review. That would really help us out.
Definitely appreciate that. Also, if we're not on your favorite service, let us know, and we'll try to figure out how to get there. We can't make the promise we'll get on there, but we'll try and figure it out.
No promises. Alrighty, any final thoughts, John?
Nope.
I like it. Brendan?
No.
Excellent. R2-D2, you monster. Go away. Never come back. Alrighty, stay glorious, everyone. I'm Corey.
I'm John.
I'm Brendan. Beep, boop, beep.
If you liked this episode and would like to interact with us, please like our page on Facebook, search for The Inglorious Blasters, a Star Wars Legion podcast. Follow us on Instagram at SWL Inglorious Blasters. Subscribe to us on your preferred podcasting app. Please give us a rating and maybe leave a review. It would really help us out. Stay glorious, everyone.